Hey everybody, my name's Mike, and today I wanted to talk about um, disconnection in a relationship, especially with like a significant other, and tell you a little story about a relationship, a disconnection that I just had in a relationship. And a lot of the times we don't even know these are disconnections. They come up, they kind of they start tiny and then they turn into really like arguments or fights, or sometimes it's just silence, and things moving in our heads, thoughts moving in our heads about something the other person has done, but we don't want to vocalize it, and it just creates a separation between us in the relationship, and we don't even realize it. And then a lot of times that just escalates. Those feelings are underneath the surface. We're not conscious of them. We're not acknowledging them with the other person because of fear. We're afraid to talk about our feelings. We're afraid to, that if we bring this up, that the person might discount us, or that we might lose power, or that by being vulnerable, we're going to be even weaker in the situation. And it's actually the exact opposite is true, but it's not how it seems when we're in these situations. Vulnerability seems like the last thing we should do. It seems scary. It seems illogical, and it seems like people will just take advantage of that. And that can be true, but that's actually information. If somebody takes advantage of our vulnerability, then that's not somebody who we want to be around. That's not somebody we want to be with. We want somebody who can hear us, hear our vulnerability, meet us there is what we really want. And I'll go into that more, but let me just tell you what happened with this situation. So I am with a girl, and she was here visiting, and we had an amazing time while she was visiting. She was visiting for about 2 weeks, and it was probably one of the most amazing connections both of us have experienced in our life. And we dated a long time ago, and so we had reconnected, and I mean, this connection was almost indescribable. It was, not only was it powerful sexually, but also just really powerful emotionally, mentally, and there was a real like grounded nature to it. Not only was it like our senses were heightened, the emotions were heightened, our ability to think and play and laugh and create were also heightened, but then there was this really grounded part of it where there was just like this ease and comfort in everything that we did, whether we were shopping or cooking or just hanging out or doing nothing. There was a real ease and grounded comfort to it. Like, it wasn't about just the highs, it was also about the, just the normal everyday moments, the kind of grounded regular moments. So, and what we noticed over this 2 weeks is there were several times where there were certain things that came up. Things naturally come up in relationships, even over a course of 2 weeks. And those are spots where one of the people get triggered by, often something the other person does. And a lot of times the person who gets triggered feels disregarded or unloved, or something hurts their feelings. And that person will then often either shut down internally and emotionally, or they will react and try to do the same thing that they feel was done to them. Like, if they were hurt or upset, then they will almost unconsciously try to hurt or upset the other person. And these things happen in such small incremental ways. It's very hard to see them start sometimes, but if you are pretty conscious about what's going on in your mind and body, And in your relationship, you can start to catch these things and catch them early. And that is the point. These are like sparks that fly off a fire and maybe land on, some leaves nearby. If you see it, the spark, and put it out immediately, you've taken care of it and avoided danger. But if you don't, and that spark stays there and the wind blows, it can start a really big fire. So the example I have is, we were walking into Walmart, of all places. We had to do some last minute shopping and get some candy for some kids. And so we were walking into Walmart, and we had been discussing what we were going to do after, because she was leaving, how we were going to maybe continue this relationship, what that might look like. And we had this ongoing joke, whether we were in the, each person was in the talk club or the action club. And we were walking into Walmart, and somehow the conversation came up again, and she was like, I'm in the action club, about, making this relationship work going down the road. And she said, what club are you in? And I was just being funny, because I am a little less action oriented than her. And so I was kind of going to the other extreme and being funny. And I was like, I'm in the talk club, I'm lazy, I'm in the talk club. And I was just kind of like busting her chops a little bit and didn't think anything of it. And then we did our shopping at Walmart, and then we came out of Walmart and we were driving home, and we were having a talk about masculine, feminine, the masculine holding the polarity for the feminine, and also how women tend to, and these in our culture today, gravitate towards masculine roles in the relationship, and then the men end up taking feminine roles, and it's like we've kind of gotten these roles backwards in a lot of relationships now. And I was talking to her about that, and I said that I felt like in our relationship I was really holding my masculinity and she was showing up in the feminine, and I thought that was very beautiful and one of the reasons we were doing well. And then I asked her what she thought, and then she said quickly, well, it doesn't really matter to think about these things, because there's not going to be much happening after I leave. And so this totally threw me on my back foot. We've been kind of talking about this the whole time, something going forward. We've had this incredible connection. So all of a sudden I feel like she's shutting it down, and I'm like, I have no idea where this came from. So we kept talking some more, and then I felt this jolt, this charge in me from that comment. Just one little comment, really kind of struck me and hit my heart. And I'm I'm then continuing the conversation. We're talking some more, and I don't remember, there was another comment about, not really continuing the relationship going forward. And I'm not knowing where this is coming from. And then we get back to the house, and, I'm trying not to make a big deal out of it, just trying to roll with it. And then we were having dinner, and then after dinner, she said something like, well, even if I'm not coming back to see you, I'm still going to come back to see another one of my friends. And this is kind of uncharacteristic from her. She's normally very, very soft and gentle and kind-hearted. So this was just coming out it didn't really make sense. And so at this point I was really thrown off, and my feelings were askew, and I went down to the gym here to get a workout, and I was talking to my friend while I was on the elliptical, and I couldn't shake the feelings that this little part of the conversation had triggered. And these couple things in these conversations in the last 2 hours with her had triggered. And when you're on the phone with somebody and you're talking, but you can't get away from thinking about that other person and that conversation, even though you're in the middle of another conversation, it's terrible, and I'm trying to pay attention to the conversation with my buddy, but I keep drifting off, my mind's like running that conversation with her. And so I ended the conversation with him. It wasn't like super helpful. And I know from doing all these things, as soon as I get an emotional charge, that the best thing for me to do is feel it, because my mind, that charge is causing my mind to run in circles, not the other way around. We all think it's our mind, but it's really our emotions that are kind of driving all these, obsessive kind of crazy thoughts in our head. So I came out by the water here at my apartment complex, and I sat down, and I just really breathed into my body, felt those feelings that had gotten triggered, and just, was settled with my mind, my body, and my emotions. And what happens is, when I feel those feelings, then the insights and intuition start to come to me about the situation. And I saw that I had probably started that whole chain reaction of events, and I had triggered those feelings in her first by saying that I was in the talk club and that I was lazy, because basically I was saying to her that I'm not interested in carrying the relationship forward. And I didn't realize that. I was saying that as kind of a joke. I'm sure there was like some truth in it underneath, because moving forward in a relationship, there's some difficulties that we would have to face, and I don't have control of some of those circumstances. She has more control over them. So it's I think that's a way for me to kind of push it off and not commit so much emotionally to it. But the problem is that hurt her feelings, and that triggered her. This was a big deal. This was like one of the last days she was here. She had a lot of feeling about this relationship. Her feelings were very big. And when I said that, it upset her, and I didn't realize it. And then she probably didn't really understand and was trying to protect herself and was reacting to what I had said. And so this is where this disconnection happened. I said one little thing, it caused a disconnect, and then that disconnect grows. The other person widens the disconnection. And a lot of this stuff is unconscious. We don't even realize we're playing this out. We had been so connected earlier that day, all day, just having an amazing time. The last 2 weeks, just incredible time. And then this little disconnection happens so fast, the other person compounds it. And if I'm not careful, I will compound it, and before you know it, we don't want to spend any more time together. That's how fast these feelings grow. And then the feelings become irrational, and you say things or think things that are totally out of proportion to the situation. So thank God I sat with my feelings. I felt it. I had the intuition. I saw that I had probably started this. And so we came down later that night after we ate. We came down by the water, and I started a little fire, and we both sat there by the fire just staring at it. And it's like neither one had anything to say, because we were still in that disconnection mode. And in this last 2 weeks, we've been connecting. We've been holding hands all the time, because when you're in that state of love and connection with somebody, you want closeness. You want physical connection, you want mental connection, you want emotional connection. That's how our bodies work, and we crave it. It feels so good. And the minute disconnection comes in, we're out of the present moment. We don't want to talk to the person. We don't want to hold hands. We don't want to be close. And it's so striking. So if you're feeling those things, they're all telltale signs that you're in disconnection. If you don't want to hold your partner's hands, if there's not a lot to be said, if you're not really present with them, if you don't want to hug them, if you don't want to kiss them, if you don't want to do something with them, those are all signs that, hey, there's some type of disconnection going on and it needs repair. And the repair is very simple, but often difficult, because we were sitting out here. I kind of knew what the repair was, but I was still afraid to be vulnerable in some capacity. And I was afraid to say that my feelings got hurt, and it's hard to say. But after sitting there for 15 minutes, both staring out at this beauty and feeling disconnected, I finally said, hey, I thought back and I'm wondering about that comment at Walmart. I think I might have said something that hurt, you and caused disconnection, because we've been disconnected now, I can tell, for like 2 hours. How do you feel? Is there anything coming up? And then she immediately said yes, that she has these really strong feelings about the relationship and she feels like she's been trying to protect herself. And that's exactly what happened. Her feelings got hurt, then she's trying to protect herself or control. That's what we do. We protect, or really it's all control. We're trying to control our feelings and these feelings of hurt, and we're trying to control them and potentially control the other person at the same time. But that's really trying to control our feelings. And so I was doing the same thing. I'm trying to control my feelings because I'm scared to express them. And what we did was we both expressed our feelings kind of simultaneously about the whole situation. And we both expressed this mutual vulnerability, and we both expressed how much we cared about each other and how powerful our feelings were at this moment. It's not lopsided. It was, we both feel this. So as soon as we did that, as soon as we expressed that vulnerability, the whole thing just disappeared, and this incredible connection came rushing back to us. Our hearts both opened. We immediately wanted to hold hands. We immediately wanted to be connected, and it changed the entire dynamic. It's amazing how fast the disconnection can happen, but it's also amazing how fast the reconnection can happen with just a small conversation, some vulnerability, some letting go of control. The opposite of control, I think, is surrender and vulnerability. And the problem is we're always, or I should say, the problem is for me and a lot of people, is we're always trying to control these situations and our feelings. And love doesn't operate where control is. Love is the absence of control. And so it's only when we're willing to let go of control, willing to just flow with what's happening, and willing to express how we feel. And, it could have been that I expressed how I felt and she wasn't able to meet me there. And she could have expressed that, or, I could have been left in like the lurch and she not responded. And in that case, I would have had to do some further, feeling and investigation. But continuing to feel those feelings, no matter how difficult they are, will show me the answer. It's feeling the feelings where I get the insight and then intuition and the wisdom to kind of know how to continue operating in that relationship or circumstance. This one was repaired incredibly quickly. Some disconnections aren't going to be this easy, but a lot of them are. And then the more you do this with a partner, the more you both learn to look for these disconnections, learn to be vulnerable as soon as a disconnection comes up, and you can stay in this amazing place with your partner more of the time. And it's amazing if you can do it. It's incredible. It's what real love is. And you do see these couples around holding hands all the time, kissing in public, hugging, like it exists. There's this love that can stay with us, through the honeymoon phase and last. And it's just about learning to maintain it. I think most couples go through a lot of their relationship having these little disconnections, not knowing how to repair them, and then continuing on this path of control, avoiding feeling, and trying to make the relationship work. A lot of times we do that by relying on externals to try to keep the relationship going, but I don't think, for me, those have never worked. So I hope this video helps somebody. It's been really profound for me and my partner here over the past few weeks that we've really been looking at this and practicing this. But yeah, incredibly powerful. If you have a comment or something, leave it down below. I'd love to talk to you about it more. Talk to you about anything relationship, and I have a lot more videos that I'm going to be making on this about meditation, feeling, relationship, insights, all kinds of stuff. So with that, I will see you guys next time. I love you, and I hope you are well. Bye.